Welcome to AAUW Conversation and Connection. My name is Sharon Watson Hamilton, and we talk about AAUW, which stands for the American Association of University Women. We're a nonprofit organization in Auburn, California, and this is one way of our getting out to the community what we're about and what we stand for. A lot of people know us as we had chocolate tasting for years and years, and then we've had the trivia bee for years and years. Last year we added a scavenger hunt. So our name is out there in collaboration with a lot of things in the community of Auburn, California. I would like to thank Susan Roughgarden, who sat in for me last month as I had some surgery, so I am back at it, but I appreciate her helping out that month. I want to thank Susan Rushton, who got us onto the ACTV, which is where we are at, and I want to thank Phil, I call him our producer. I don't know what my title is versus his, but he does all the hard work, so I want to always acknowledge and thank him. So today we are going to talk about a interest of AAUW, which is our International Dinner or International Interest Evening. And I have with me, my guest is Pam Hart, and she and I are just going to talk a little bit about the history of this event, where it's going for it's actually coming up January 27th, and it is free to the public. So we want to make sure all of you know all about it. But let me introduce Pam. This is Pam Hart. She's one of our members. Pam, I just want to start out with, tell me your story with AAUW, and then we'll get more into the international interest.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah.
I've been in AAUW basically all of my life. My mother was in AAUW here in Auburn. In fact, she was even a past president. And she would have numerous events at our house, which meant, especially as a junior high school girl, I got to help serve. I got to help wash the dishes. I got to help in any way possible. We used to have fun things too, like a homes tour, and our house was on the homes tour. Well, what does that mean? That means getting your house ready for the homes tour, right?
Right.
I just fell into AAUW because I saw how active my mother was, what interesting things she did with AAUW, and after I graduated from college, I thought, well, this is my opportunity to now be an official member of AAUW.
And you've been a past president.
And I'm now a past president also.
And also you currently now are part of program, which is the reason you're talking today with me about what's coming up in our next program. So that's kind of exciting. So.
Yes, it's kind of hard to fill the shoes of one of our past members, Mary Voyages.
Yes.
Who ran our international relations, international interests group for over 34 years.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know she'd done it that long.
She was a history teacher at Gloucester High School. She was born in Greece, and so I think that is really what piqued her interest, feeling connected with an international community.
Yeah.
And she made sure that we were all connected too.
Oh, I'd forgotten so much of that. How fun.
She used to provide us with the most interesting speakers.
She did?
And one of the ones that I remember in particular was Understanding the Russian Mind.
Oh.
And it really did make me stop and think, because they don't have the same textbooks that we do. Their geography maps look different, with Russia as the focal point, not the United States as the focal point. Just little subtle things like that we don't even think about when we're trying to relate to these people. That their history is all of monarchs and dictators and that type of thing. It's not very entrepreneurial, whereas the United States started out that way. People coming to forge their own lives and make their own way.
Yeah.
And it just really brought to light that there are differences in this world through no fault of anyone's, just the way they were raised.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why these international relation dinners are so important.
Yeah.
It just kind of opens up our mind to another part of the world, how other people think, and just gives us pause.
Yeah, it does. And now that you mentioned Mary, I agree. She kind of got that ball rolling and to educate us as the organization, and we opened it up to the public so guests could come. And we've had various speakers, and some of them quite engaging, some maybe not so much, but they've all been interesting. And like you said, bring a different perspective. We've had a couple of our members went to Cuba, and we talked about that, exposure when Cuba opened up a few years ago. We've had Bert went back to Vietnam after he had served in Vietnam. He did a return visit, and how heartfelt that discussion was. Just a whole bunch of things, and Mary really did get us started on that. In her footsteps, then, I cannot forget to mention Carol Francis picked up that ball and worked a lot with Mary, and then continued this going, because after we lost Mary, I would say it got a little wobbly who was going to take control of the international interest, if it should be something. So anyway, the Carol Francis has pretty much kept that alive in a lot of respects. And then we shifted it to program. That's how you got involved this year. So that's a little bit of history for folks out there about our international dinner. So
one of the other things is that this has always been a couples dinner where the husbands could participate. And even though it's AAUW International for women, this is when husbands or anyone in the community could come.
Right.
And we have a potluck, and so it's always a very good evening.
Yeah, it's a fun evening. Doesn't cost anybody anything. This year it's at the Pioneer Church, Methodist Church, downtown Auburn.
Yes.
That's a new venue for us. We've usually had it up on the hill, right? I think.
Well, or the Rose Room or different places
we
like
have
that.
had it in the Rose Room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun this year, and we will reiterate all of that for you. Let's see. What do I want to talk about real quick? So do we want to go into who our guest is this year?
Sure.
Okay.
This
Do you
year,
want that?
we have Anna Mayhew, who will be speaking to us about the Ukrainian war and how it's impacting Poland.
She's from Poland, correct?
She is from Poland. She's living here in the United States now, but she goes back frequently for visits.
Okay.
And she has family back there. And she would like to tell us just a little bit about how the people from Ukraine are coming into Poland and what Poland is doing to help that effort.
Right.
And just give us an overview.
I think that's going to be kind of nice to hear more firsthand rather than through the news media.
Exactly.
Of how it's interpreted, how egregious that whole thing has been, and how.
Right, and this is just like a neighbor to neighbor type situation, and just the common person, what they see.
Right.
And I think that will be very interesting.
I think so too. She says, I was reading her bio in our newsletter about Anna. She grew up under communist rule. Let's see, what did she say? Making the best and thriftiest use of whatever food and materials were available. That's, just a comment that we are so affluent, we don't even think like that. Her mother was a teacher, a small store owner, and community leader. Her father was an engineer. A strong work ethic was instilled in her. That's it. Okay, when Anna was 16, I'm kind of sharing this, and I know you know all of it, but when she was 16, when Anna was 16, the Soviet Union, which had governed Poland for many years, collapsed along with the Berlin Wall. Anna and her family's lives changed, and she finished high school and attended secretarial college in Poland before moving to her beloved Germany in 1999. She lived there until 2014, when she arrived in California. That's a journey. Wow.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
she's gonna. And she's fluent in English, German, and Polish. Oh my goodness, how fun! So we are going to fast forward it to a more modern time, inclusive of the Ukrainian invasion and her thoughts and exposure to that. I just,
I think
man.
she'll also give us a little update on Poland too.
Okay.
Because since Poland was communist, then they had to decide how they were going to survive and get into a more capitalist situation and have their economy be a little bit better.
Right.
So she'll give us some hints to. I don't want to spoil it.
I know we're not going to spoil
So she'll give us some little hints on what made that possible for Poland and how they are so successful today.
Yeah, and now Poland, if my history is part of NATO, but the Ukraine is not. They
Correct.
want to be,
Right.
but it hasn't gone through yet. They're an
Right.
associate, I think, is what they call it. So they work well together, but they're not really part of it. So there's some sanctions that they can't follow, I guess, and I'm sure Anna will talk about some of that.
Right.
So I'm excited, and I think this is so timely. Where did you find her? Do you know?
Oh, she's a friend of a friend.
That kind of connection.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Excellent.
And just hearing her talk about different things really inspired me to ask her to speak with us.
Yeah.
And she was so generous with her time to be able to come and speak. And here's a little kind of funny thing, is that when she was back in Poland visiting her mom, probably about 10 years ago.
Her mom still lives in Poland then?
She's not alive right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Her mom participated in like elder hostels and extended education ideas. So they would get together as a group of women and go hear different speakers, just like we're going to hear Anna.
Nice.
So she thought, oh, this is so appropriate. You know, this is exactly what my mother would do. And
Yeah.
I'm so honored to do this because it just really fits in with what my mother did too.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. So let's go over it again. International relations or international interests is, I think, the more useful term, I guess. And it's going to be Friday, January 27th. It's going to be at the Pioneer Methodist Church in downtown Auburn. What time does it start, Pam?
5:30.
5:30?
Yeah.
It does not cost anyone anything. Do they need to RSVP? If I'm a member of the public, do I need to call somebody, or do we just let them come in, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I
do.
thought. Okay. We have a potluck that the members all bring, so they don't have to bring food. It's a nice, enjoyable evening. We really want everybody to come. If we have overflow, then the rule when we have a potluck is that we don't eat till last in case we run out of food. So don't be afraid of that. We never have run out of food, though, I have to admit.
Right.
So I just hope that everyone can join us at that. That would be so grand. So
One of the things about inviting the public and have them come is that it does open up some of the things we do in AAUW. And we hope to get new members, and we do allow men to join now.
That's right. That's right.
There's no reason to back out.
Right.
And we have other exciting things that we do in AAUW too.
I was just going to talk about that for a minute before we kind of close up everything. But upcoming events are kind of exciting. And again, this is kind of an AAUW conversation, but we would love for everybody to come to the Trivia Bee. We're back at it. We haven't had that in 2 years now, or 3?
3.
3 years. So we are excited. We were kind of known as Trivia Bee people in the community. And if you are not familiar with the Trivia Bee, it's where we get teams of 3 people vying through a Jeopardy questions, if you will, who get the most points and win the evening's trophy and a buy-in to the following year free. So it's kind of fun. It generates fun. As for the public, they come and enjoy our dinner. We always have a nice dinner meal, and then you get to root on your favorite team. So it's kind of fun. Particulars will be coming out in the next month or so via the journal and any other ways of
And
communication.
probably this show.
Yeah, this show. I am going to do something on it. That's exactly it.
Right.
But the Trivia Bee's coming up March, what do we say, 25th.
Right.
So that's kind of a big one because it is our biggest fundraiser as well. Whereas International Interest, which is this month, it doesn't make any money, doesn't cost any money, and is just really a
service to the public.
Yeah, it really is, and a chance to maybe get some information that isn't always out there. So anyway, besides the Trivia Bee coming up in March, there's also a new program we're starting. If you've watched this show before, Susan Muffgarden, who hosted last month and was my first guest a couple months ago, she has jumped in with both feet into what's called Speech Trek. Some of you may be familiar with our Tech Trek, which are young ladies between 7th and 8th grade who go off to college campuses without phones for a whole week and get the life of college life at a young age with no phones, or supposedly that's the rule. But we know, kids are pretty brilliant. They probably do something to get their phones in use at some time. But anyway, it's a lovely event, and we've been very successful at that. So another, I won't say an offshoot of it, but it's called Speech Trek, where we're going to get young ladies. I believe they're going to be freshmen and sophomore high school students, and they're going to present speeches, and there's prizes. There's 500, 300, and 100 prizes, something like that. So that's coming up. It's something new, and that's going to be announced through, and that was already had a nice article in the journal too. But so if you have young people in school, we really encourage you to get involved in some of our plans for educating the next group. So, because that's kind of important. That is about the recap of what's coming up. Can you think of anything else?
Well, I just wanted to mention that we do raise money for the Tech Track and for our scholarships that we give. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the main reasons that we do have the Trivia Bee.
Yes, that's our main money maker, if you will.
Right. And we're sending girls to these camps.
Right.
We're giving scholarships. And that's the way we give back to the community.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful, actually. I love it. We probably have a few minutes left. I do want to give you our website, and Phil will probably put it at the end as well, but it is auburn-ca.aauw.net. auburn-ca.aauw.net. That is a place where people can go. If you're technically savvy, I have to admit I'm not of that ilk. But anyway, you can go and find out all the information that we've talked about. And if you didn't get the date and time for this, but we are going to do that one more time too. International Interest, Friday, the January 27th, 5:30, Pioneer Church in Auburn. And we are having our guest speaker is from Poland, Anna, and she's going to talk about more of the relationship maybe between what's going on in the Ukraine and the Poland relief effort, for lack of a better term. That's how I call it. So I think it'll be a very engaging night. We probably have a few more minutes. What I'd like to do with those few minutes, because we've kind of covered everything we wanted to cover, but I just wanted to think back on a few of the topics that we've had with international interests. A couple of them that I remember, I mentioned the Vietnam. Bert went back to Vietnam, and he came and talked to us about that exposure after serving in Vietnam in the 60s and then going back to visit that country and how they have rebuilt and how emotional that was for him. There was a couple others. You mentioned a couple that were pretty good. Let's see what other ones.
We had Dr. Weiss.
Oh, that's right. That was a good one.
Yeah.
He talked about, I think it was his visit to Nepal. If you know Ed Weiss, he and Barbara do a lot of humanitarian journeys, and he is a videographer as well. And so they had a wonderful presentation on their visit to Nepal. and I think that's where it was. They've been a lot of places, so I don't
So
think it
just
was
like Doctors Without Borders.
Borders,
this
but it
is
was a dentist. Yeah,
Without Borders.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's pretty fascinating to talk to him. He's an interesting man. That was a good one. Let's see. We had Carol Francis that I talked about that took over the helm on international interest. She, oh my gosh, she wears me out. She is my age. I'll just do a disclosure here. And she has been a tour guide to Antarctica for 3 years now. Probably.
I think more than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
It is amazing what this woman does. So she presented some of her escapades. She brought her wetsuit that she drives the Zodiac little things that go on shore in this freezing water, and the polar bear run and all this stuff that she does. It is like, oh my gosh. So she's pretty fascinating young lady. Yeah, young. I say young. But that was kind of a fun one too, when she talked about her escapades there. We've had the Heart Foundation. Some of you might know that. That's a foundation that helps schools in Africa. We've had them come speak. So it's a very engaging evening, and again, we want to encourage any others that you can come to mind.
No, but I just wanted to remind people that we are open for questions and answers after the speech.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah.
And we definitely invite that.
Yes.
From the public.
Yes, absolutely. So I do want to thank everybody for listening to our little show, our conversation. We do like talking about our AAUW. Please join us Friday the 27th of January, 5:30, Pioneer Methodist Church in Auburn, for a speaker, Anna, on relationships. I'll call it relationships between Poland, and she is from Poland, so it'll be from that viewpoint. So I hope I see all of you. I hope we see all of you next time. And thank Phil and everybody at ACTV once again. Have a great day. Happy New Year, everybody.